to India and Ireland, round Africa and back again. We don't really need to know just where we'll go. Maybe Canada, then to Brazil, then through the Alpine foothills. All I really want to know is, can we go? Oh baby, can we go? Round and around the globe.
Welcome to Take Me With You, episode 121. I'm Ryan,
And I'm Cheryl. We are two well-traveled people who want to go everywhere.
but that's not going to happen. So instead, we'll travel vicariously by inviting a guest to share their unique travel stories with us.
Today we're talking to Mikaela. Mikaela lives on the East Coast in assorted states, depending on the month that you're talking about these days. She is an appreciator of the TV show Friends and of wine, and likes to be on our podcast from time to time so that she can respond while we're talking and we'll actually hear her, as opposed to when she listens and responds in her car and we don't hear her. Welcome, Mikaela!
Woohoo!
Oh,
Oh my gosh,
This is what
fighting back
happens when
laughter.
I don't read an intro and make stuff. Actually, this is what happens when I'm friends
was-
with the guest, is then I just start, like, I respect them so much less. I'm pretty
oh.
I feel way more respected actually because I was listening to that intro and I was like, this girl knows me to a T.
Oh, boom.
Seriously. I definitely
we
talk
go.
back to you guys every single time that I listen to your podcast. So it's nice to hear you guys responding to me this time.
I'm curious, what sorts of things do you tell us that we can't hear in a
I
car?
tell you all the places that I would love to go. I feel like I just carry on the conversation that you guys are having. I laugh a lot when I listen to you guys, and you never hear me. It's crazy.
No, I don't.
Aw.
Oh, but now you do. This time you do.
We
That's
need
all
a
that matters.
studio audience for this podcast
This is
so we
true.
can hear the laughter.
Can you hear the clapping right there?
Yeah. Well, we had talked before we started recording a little bit about, Patreon, if we were to, ever be like big time enough to get supporters
Yes.
and things. And we could do that. We could have a live
true.
audience as like a tiered thing. Like
Ooh.
you can watch
Oh, yeah.
live and we'll record your reactions. I don't know.
Okay,
That sounds really
but
weird
this
to
could
me. but-
actually be a lot of fun. If you could have people that are part of this, but like muted, but they're watching the behind the scenes of actually recording the podcast. First of all, you learn so much. And the second, you get to like kind of hang out with the people that you love to listen to. That would be fun. Would it not
It would
fun?
be fun. I think the bummer would be that no one would show up, and then Ryan and I would feel bad about ourselves.
You don't know. You don't know.
It starts with like a paid level, and then it becomes a free level, and then it becomes like, we will pay you. And
Please be our friends. No. That's not Patreon at all.
No. Well, Mikaela, I was looking back to remind myself which episodes that you have been on in the past, because you've been with us as a guest before. And you actually, you probably remember this, but you were our first guest besides just
Oh.
Cheryl and I.
Wait, really?
Yes.
I thought that.
Not that
Tom
I'm going
and
to toot my
Serena
own horn,
were.
but yeah, totally. I do remember.
Oh my
this.
gosh, you're right.
Yep.
Oh.
Thanks for double checking the facts, Cheryl.
Well,
I remember
I
this because I remember when Cheryl mentioned the idea of this podcast on a different podcast of hers, and I was like, I want to do that. I want to do that podcast with her. And then I called her and she was like, yeah, I'm going to be doing that with Ryan. And I was like, cool. So can I be on this podcast? And then you guys invited me on right away. I was so excited.
Oh, this
amazing.
is great though, because if one of us is busy, we could just like sub in Mikaela
This
as
is true.
host. Then
There you go.
So
Yeah.
that's fantastic.
Yeah,
There we go.
I'm here for you.
Sweet.
I'm right
And I'm
here.
pretty sure Lisa would also do it. So that if Ryan and I are like
true.
tired sometime, we're like,
There we
I don't
go.
know,
Lisa
Mikaela,
and I can
Lisa,
host.
figure it out.
There you go.
Well,
I know
one
all
time
the behind
on
the
my
scenes.
previous podcast, Old
Mm.
Maids, Ryan and our friend Ian, he's been on this show.
Yeah.
They hosted an episode of Old Maids in place of Beth and I
I
entirely.
remember this. Yes.
And then my husband edited it, so Beth and I didn't even hear it until it came out, which was very fun.
It's a
Amazing.
totally
Oh.
hands-off episode. Easiest one you ever did.
I know, it really
Amazing
was.
how that works.
Yep.
So there we go. New ideas.
Well,
Love it.
Mikaela, since the last time you've been here, we have upped the game with our guest questions. So we
Ooh.
have a different set of guest questions
Oh
for
my gosh.
returning guests.
Wow. Oh my
Are
gosh.
you ready?
I'm so excited. I think I'm ready. Hang on. Rolling out my shoulders. There we go. Now I'm ready.
Okay, perfect. So the first question is, when in your travel history were you first consciously aware of differences in culture in a significant way?
Ooh. Whoa. You guys.
Yeah, this is advanced stuff.
It's deep.
So-
This is definitely for returning guests. Okay.
Yeah, you know,
So-
you have to know the word culture. There's a lot to
Yeah,
it.
for real. So when I was, my gosh, like 9 or 10, I spent the summer in Mexico with my mom and my sister with a family, with a host family. And I remember, I don't remember at all the bedroom situation, like if I stayed in a room with my mom and sister or what, but I remember the house feeling a lot smaller than I was used to in the US. And my mom had brought down all of these gifts from the US, including bubble bath, which was a big deal when we were kids. Like bubble baths were like, that's like a big Saturday night going out
Yep.
to the bubble bath. And we brought that to them, and they were like, I don't know what this is. And we realized once we were there, like they had showers. They did not have bathtubs or anything. And I was like, these kids do not take bubble baths. Like, who doesn't take a bubble bath? But I, like, as a child, I was like, this is mind blowing to me. It's something so simple and silly, like a bubble bath. Actually sounds very luxurious, and I could totally go for one right now. But thinking that, like, I was 9, that was my norm. Like, once a week, I get a fun bubble bath. We brought down this gift because this family had kids. Like, we were going and staying with a family that we thought was like us, and they didn't even have a way to use this gift that we were giving them. I feel like this is such a silly example, but to me, that was a huge cultural difference that I was like, whoa, not all families grow up in the same kind of, like, not everybody takes bubble baths. Like, how silly is that? But like, I think in that moment, I suddenly then became aware of, like, what else do they do that's different? Do they eat differently? Do they, use a different schedule? Do they go to school in a different way? Whatever. Like, I mean, I went to school with these kids during the summer too. So, I mean, it was like camp, big air quotes. So camp school, that was also a little bit different. But I think I definitely remember the moment that my mom gave that bubble bath, or not bubble bath, the bubbles for the kids to have a bubble bath. And they were like, I don't know what to do. Is this juice, or are we supposed to drink this? Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Yeah. It was pretty fascinating. And something that's so silly that you wouldn't even think twice about that. But culture is all over the place, including bubble baths, evidently.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's really a perfect example, actually, because I think those are the things that help us recognize culture. And I think it's really, I think in the US, it's really easy for us to recognize what we typically talk about as other cultures, right? Oh, well, this is a part of that culture and this is a part of that culture, but really to be oblivious to the parts of our own culture. And until we go into another culture and experience another culture, to really be able to be aware of those components that make up our own culture. Like you said, we just assume that it's the same for everybody when it isn't.
Yes. Yeah, big time. And I think it's such a gift too to as a young child get to go into another culture and have the opportunity to actually experience the other culture, instead of just like, I'm going to go vacation, I'm going to stay at a resort or hotel or whatever, and like not really get into it. But the fact that we got to stay with a host family and experience their culture at a young enough age, that I was like, who doesn't take bubble baths? What is this place? But you're right, Ryan. Like big time. Yeah, I started asking, what is my own culture? Like, it was pretty insightful. And I was 9. Holy cow.
A lot of wisdom going on in there.
I was pretty wisdomous. It's true. Yeah.
That's a great answer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The wisdomous, I'm taking it. That's what you meant, right?
Yep, that's exactly what I meant. Yep, you got
Thank
it.
you.
Yep. Second question, how has your travel style changed since the last time you were on our podcast? And as a reminder, the last time that you were on our podcast was episode 35. We recorded on, what is that, June 3rd, 2019, and it released in July of the same year. So quite a while ago. There's been a lot in the world since then.
You could say. Just like a couple of things have happened. My current travel style is non-international, unfortunately, sadly. So since we recorded, Jimmy and I did go to Belgium. We took your advice on that trip and went to some of the cool places that you guys recommended, which I will share about later.
Sweet.
But I'm thinking, like, last year we had planned on going to Utah for a ski trip. We were going to go to Seattle for like a fun summer long getaway. And we were going to go to Italy for like 3 weeks. I was very excited. And you know what I was most excited about was at the beginning of the pandemic. I was like, great, their tourism is shot. They're totally going to need us. All the prices are going to go down. This is going to be so amazing. Jimmy, let's book right now because everything's going to be so cheap. And he was like, let's just wait it out a little bit. Turns out borders were still closed. They did not want us to go there in October. So I did not get to go to Italy last year. So yeah, my travel style these days is very much a road trip style and less getting on an airplane, which kind of makes me sad, but I also didn't grow up road tripping and all, so this is kind of fun for me. Like, this is very much a new style of, like, let's see where we can go within reason in a day and then explore that place and just be, like, I've seen so much more of New England since being forced to be confined in New England and Jimmy can't travel for work. Like, we are together all the time. And so, yeah, we're going to go check out these new places in New Hampshire or Vermont or Maine or whatever that, like, we normally would not have prioritized because we save up our vacation time for the bigger travel. So this has actually been a pretty cool season of travel for seeing local things.
That's cool. I think that sounds really similar, Cheryl, to sort of what you've been doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I've done a lot more driving around like Washington and a little bit like Oregon, Idaho, and Montana this summer, and that was interesting because I think it's totally a grass is greener thing, right? Where you're like, I want to go see that place that's far away, and then the place that's like my own backyard, it's like, oh, but this is kind of whatever here. And then when you're like forced to stay home and not go many places, and you're like, oh, this is very cool. I live next to some really cool stuff, and like just remembering like other people traveled to where I live as a vacation, so let me explore it and enjoy it in that way. And also it's not my house, and so isn't that exciting?
True. Different standard.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah, for sure.
Ryan, have you done any local traveling during COVID? Exploring.
No.
Come on,
so
take
this
me
is
with you.
I know. No, it's been actually really sad on a number of levels. Cheryl and I have talked about this quite a bit before. I did do one like round trip to Portland and back, but literally I drove down with a friend to help him pick up his stove that he bought, put it into the back of his truck, and then we turned around and came back. So it's not like we did anything.
Right.
So technically I left the state.
There we go.
Technically. but I don't know if I really count that as travel.
Technicality. It's a
But like,
technicality.
so the other thing that's kind of hitting home this week in particular is, you know, how Facebook and Google Photos and all those things will show you like, hey, this is what you were doing a year ago.
Yeah, it's kind of the worst.
A year ago today, I was in Disneyland.
Oh.
And that was the last trip that I did. And
Oh.
so like, it was cool to be able to do it. But as we've mentioned on the
Yeah.
podcast before, me and my sister and her family, we all got sick. So like, this was the day that a year ago that my sister got sick. And so that everything like totally changed after this day a year
Yes.
ago. And so we were originally going to do a redo trip. We were going to do that this year during
Like
February,
right now.
like right now. So just like you were saying, Mikaela, thinking, oh yeah, we'll book it. And then by then things will be open and it'll be good and we can redo it again. Nope, definitely not. So I
Oh,
haven't
man.
done any other trips. I haven't gone anywhere else. I've just been home.
Oh my gosh,
Storing
you
it
guys,
up,
I
though.
have a coworker who like a year ago now, maybe even longer than that, she and her husband, they said May 2021, we're going to go on this awesome trip to Italy. They got all excited. They haven't been to Europe before. Started talking about it, and then COVID hit, and she told her husband she had more foresight on this than anyone. She was like, we're still going to be working from home in the fall. And I was thinking like,
wow.
no, we're not. And then she even was like, yeah, I told my husband, like, let's not book anything for our trip next May because we don't know. Like, things may not be open. And I was thinking, like, okay, if that helps her feel better, then whatever.
Sure.
And now it's like, I don't know if she would have been able to take that trip this coming
Yeah.
May. Like,
yeah.
we don't know. And so
Yeah.
I think
True.
it's totally changed perspective on, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like anything's possible in the most negative way possible.
Very
It's
true.
like, oh, that could close down. Disneyland could close for a year. You know, all the, you know, it's just like
Yeah.
Crazy.
anything's possible.
Clearly, yes, at
Yeah.
this point.
Yeah.
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 It's sad.
Oof.
Oh, yeah. We will not take it for granted.
No. Big
At least not
We
for a
didn't-
while.
We didn't eat anyway,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
still, you know, in a new way, we will not take it for granted. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true.
What is something that you've done while traveling that you never want to do again?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we're
What
very
a
proud of these
profound
questions.
question. Oh
I think
my-
Cheryl wrote them all,
My
but
gosh. Dang.
I'm very proud of these questions.
Yes.
they're good.
Yeah, they are. I feel like you guys need some banter while I like think about this one. Holy cow. Something that I never want to do again. that I did
Ryan,
while
we
traveling.
have not answered these questions, so we should at some point.
Ooh,
you and
maybe
I
you
think of
guys should answer these
these
questions.
Are you
Or
sure?
Maybe
You never
guess
know.
we should, or we could guess each other's and see. Like, what do I think Ryan
That's
would
true.
say?
Oh.
Travel and coach is something that Ryan.
Oh, no. I think I have answered this question. I think when we've asked, maybe it was when we asked Alex and he turned it back on us.
Did
Maybe
we?
not. Maybe I just answered it in my head. Maybe that was it. Because I think for me, there are many things that I've done while traveling that I never want to do again. One of them was getting sick and throwing up for 5 hours on a plane. I don't ever want to
there's
do that
that.
again.
Sure.
Gross.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, and you learned to have your motion sickness pills
Uh-huh.
on your person, not
Yep.
just in
Not
your
just
bag.
packed in the, Yep.
Oh. Yikes.
Yep. So
Wow.
that's something that I've done while
Woof.
traveling that I don't ever want to do again. And got to
Oh my
visit the hospital in the Frankfurt airport.
Cool. I mean, who doesn't want to visit the local Frankfurt airport hospital?
Yep. I mean, the doctor was awesome. He was actually super funny and he was great. But I'd
Yeah.
rather not have to go to the doctor internationally.
That's fair.
Also, this makes me think we need to play Travel Never Have I Ever sometime.
Ooh.
I've never been in an airport hospital, so
Oh my gosh.
that's a fun
You guys
one.
should totally do a travel never have I ever.
That would be
episode.
fun to the group.
Yes.
Like
I
if we
wanna
got
do that too.
Michaela and we got Alex on, you know. and,
Yeah.
like,
Yes.
yeah.
Let's
that'd
do
be
it.
really fun.
I will totally come back for that. I mean,
That sounds
otherwise I
really
will
fun.
silently be playing in my car while you guys do it anyway. Let's be real. Oh my gosh.
Did we
this
buy
is
you
such
enough
a
time there,
good
Michaela?
question.
Or did we just distract you?
Cheryl. No, I was trying to think about it, but then I got really sucked into that story. Cheryl.
Yeah, Cheryl, your turn to answer the question.
Yeah.
I never want to arrive. Ooh, I don't know if this is true or not. Let's decide if this is true together. Arrive in a country and not already have some cash in their currency.
Oh.
Or a plan to be able to get cash right away.
I feel like that used to be true before you could pull it out with a debit card pretty easily.
Yeah, but like, do taxis take cards in other countries?
Oh, good point.
You know
Depends
what I
on
mean?
the country.
No.
Yeah.
Wait, but like you always get cash before you go to the country?
Me?
Yeah, in the local
Well, no,
currency.
and that's the problem is like when I was stuck in Paris and couldn't get back to the airport.
Oh, right.
Like I could have hopped in a cab, but I was like, I don't know if they take a card, and I don't have any cash because I was just gonna wait and get cash later on, or not get cash. So that was a moment when I was
boy.
like, cash would be helpful. Just
Yes.
having like
Yeah,
being able to
true.
bust out some cash and get myself out of the situation.
But
Yeah.
there's
Even though I'm pretty cheap when I travel, like having the option to like spend the money.
yeah.
Yeah.
But you could even do that in the airport. There are almost always ATMs in the airport.
So that's what I'm
And
saying.
they
Is
charge
like
you, but
or a plan to get it
I
after.
see.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Good call. That's true. It is definitely
think so.
helpful. Yeah.
I think that's it. Do I have any? Oh, I got a nosebleed on a plane for 4 hours one time,
oh,
and I don't want to do that again. That's kind of similar to
No.
throwing up on the plane for a long time.
Yeah.
And I was in 7th grade and like not sitting with anyone in my group, so it was just like a bummer.
Oh.
Like, I think I've told part of this story on the podcast before, but like,
Oh.
yeah, that was. I don't want a nosebleed. I mean, just in
No.
life, but
Also true.
yeah.
But
On
for
a
4
plane.
hours on a plane.
I think it
Yeah.
doesn't stop as much because of the altitude, and it's easier to
The lower
start.
pressure. Yeah,
Oh,
hmm
Totally, yeah, science.
that
and
makes
things.
sense.
Okay, now did we buy you enough time?
Yes, I remember.
Yay!
Basically, the worst thing that has ever happened to me. I never want to lose my passport while I'm traveling and get stuck
No.
in a country. Oh, yeah. Mhm.
no.
Yes. When I was in high school, I went with my band, because I'm awesome, to London to play in the New Year's Day parade. Like, that part's awesome.
Oh, cool.
But also I was in marching band, so like totally awesome.
Definitely awesome.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
Did you play the piccolo?
I played the flute.
Okay, I was
did play
close.
the
You are
piccolo
a
in
flute
other
player.
marching bands. Yes. There were
Nice.
no piccolos in this New Year's Day parade, but I would
Okay.
have if there had been one. But I was like very on top of my game, totally knew where my passport was the entire time, very responsible. Not my first time out of the country. It was my first time like without my mom out of the country, but I was like, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I thought. And the day that we left our hotel, it was like multiple people sharing one hotel room, you know, like changing, beds not made. I pulled my passport out of the safe where it had been all week, totally safe. And somehow it got stuck in my sheets or something in the bed. And I packed everything up. We all went to the airport. And at the airport, they were like, hey, we need everybody's passports to check in. And I was like, yep, totally know where mine is. Like, tried to pull it out of my purse. Not in my purse. It wasn't in my jacket. It wasn't anywhere in my suitcase. And at that point, I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on? So,
Oh no.
yeah, huh. So we called the hotel. We had people check the bedroom. They were like, nope, we can't find it. And I was like, how do I get out of this country and back into my country? What is going on? This is not cool. So I had to stay back. And because I was underage, one of the chaperones had to stay back. Like, not my
Oh.
mom. because she wasn't on the trip. I was like, I just want to go home. I just want to be with my family. I'm like 16 years old. I have no idea what's going on. Where's my passport? See, please, somebody just let me back into the US of A. I don't know. So she took me back, and I had to pay out of pocket for us to stay at the same hotel, which was like a swanky hotel that was probably like $200 a night, but like at that time might as well have been like $1,000 a night because I was
Yeah.
a high school student, babysitting to earn my income.
Yeah.
I stayed there. She took me to the embassy to go order a new passport for me, and then I like had to go get a photo taken, and my eyes are so puffy red in that photo because I had been in tears. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to leave this country ever again. Like somehow in my mind I was like, I'm trapped in London forever. In London. It was awful. But thankfully, like, they were able to expedite it. I think I was only there for 2 extra nights, and shocker, they found my passport at the hotel right after I had gotten my new one, which I was like, right? It was right where I left it, on the bed, under the covers. But I was mostly upset because I was like, we called the hotel. We asked the cleaning ladies to like go into the room and check everything. They clearly did not. And then like after I had gone through the whole ordeal at the embassy, when we were staying at the same hotel, I got a call and they were like, we found a passport for you in this room. Was this yours? And I was like, obviously it's mine. Like, that's my name. It's my photo. Are you kidding me?
Oh, gosh.
So it was like late, plane change fee, paying for the expedited passport, and paying for this extra crazy
gross.
expensive hotel. And I was like, I don't even want to be here. My friends aren't here. I don't know this chaperone lady is with me. I was like, I think it was like an extra, I don't know, $1,000 or something. It might as well have been a year of college tuition.
Yeah.
Which it basically was. But I was like, this is insane. So I never want to do that again. So I always know where my passport is.
Oh my
before
goodness.
I leave any hotel.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So there we go.
No, that
Word to
totally
the
makes
wise.
sense. I consider myself passport paranoid. Generally before a trip, I have a dream, at least one, sometimes more than one, that I'm at the airport and I don't have my passport.
Oh, no.
that is
I
stressful.
do multiple checks when I'm leaving, and just because I'm paranoid. I've not had the situation that you've had.
But you don't want to.
Exactly. Although my grandparents did, when they were going, years and years ago, they did an Alaskan cruise, but they were driving up. I think they drove up through Canada and then just did the cruise down, like from Alaska. Like they had like a little camper on the back of a truck, and they lived in California. And so they drove up to our house to stop before they were going to keep going. And they realized that they had left their passports at home, and they were already all the way up, and they were, the next day and they had to like make all these times and stuff. So it was stressful. So maybe that's where it comes from for me, is just, stress by proxy.
You witness that stress and you're like, I will never put myself in that situation.
Yeah.
No.
So like, seriously, it's one of those where I pack everything. It's like, oh, there's my passport. And I have to actually physically see it.
Yes. Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Not just
Me
like,
too.
I know it's in that. Nope. There it is. Okay, great. And then I get in the car and I stop and I look again. And then I get to the airport and I look out and I stop and I look again. And it's just like,
Dude,
it's just,
me
yeah.
too.
I do that too, and I don't think I've ever witnessed that, but it's just one of those things where I'm like, this can make
Triple
or break
check.
the trip, and
Yep.
so
It's not worth the risk.
I'm gonna make sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Oof,
that
that
was
would be super
stressful.
I know. I'm just like, okay, calm down. She made it back. She's okay.
I know.
Yeah.
It only cost me $1,000. It's fine.
Oh, icky.
And you still travel. It didn't scar you so much that you don't travel.
Good.
True. Yes. I made it out alive.
Good.
Emotionally.
Speaking of travel, what travel are you going to tell us about today?
Oh my gosh. All the exciting travel in my life these days. So clearly COVID has been a super awesome year travel-wise for me. But actually, truly it has. Because normally we live in Boston, and we wanted to like slightly escape the city last year. And so we ended up spending 5 months in New Hampshire last year. in kind of the middle of nowhere, like hanging out on a lake that started frozen because we moved up there in March. I watched it thaw, and I watched the guy on his boat like do the first boat cruise to like break up the last of the ice.
Oh, wow.
We had our last snow on Mother's Day, which was awesome. I was very ready for summer. Very ready. But it actually was pretty awesome getting to spend 5 months of last year, even though I was like, yeah, we're going up there for like a couple of weeks. We'll be fine because COVID's going to be over in a month. Not so much. COVID continued on, but it was extremely nice being somewhere for that extended period of time, being able to like work from anywhere, have the gorgeous view of the lake. And then we moved back home for a couple of months, and then we relocated again to Vermont this time. And now it's this like gorgeous, well, it's pitch black outside right now, but gorgeous winter wonderland. We have like, I don't know, 4 feet of snow out there right now. It has not been above 15 degrees in a long time.
And that's
But it's
15 degrees
beautiful.
Fahrenheit, right?
Yes, not Celsius at all. No. But it's actually been super wonderful having the freedom to just be able to work from wherever this last year and know that, like, yeah, we might be a little bit restricted to New England and places that we can drive to and from safely, and know that we can be in a place for a long enough period of time that, yes, we're quarantining, we're following all the rules and whatever, but like having separate places to feel like home and also get that necessary, for me, change of scenery has been amazing. And also I did sneak in a trip to Costa Rica in December.
Wait, what?
It's whatever.
New
it's
Hampshire,
fine.
Vermont, Costa
They're like,
Rica.
there we go. Yes. But I needed that. I needed something that was like, dude, you guys, I realized last year, I was like, I don't know the last time that I did not get my passport stamped in 1 year, like once a year. Like, I think maybe when I was 8 was the last time that I didn't get a passport stamp in my... I know. And
My
talk
goodness.
about like first world problems, like big time white privilege, all of these things. But I was like, I am so grateful that travel was a huge priority for my mom. My dad was like, I guess we're doing this. I'm along for the ride. Sure. But like, my mom super valued travel and experiencing new cultures and really truly being in other places. And so we did that. Like those were our family excursions every year. That's like where my mom took us to get us away from my dad so that he could have some peace and quiet for months at a time when we were young. Like, all the joys of, childhood and everything. But I took that with me as an adult and was like, yes, travel is super important. And I want to go and see new things, meet new people, taste new foods, experience new cultures every single year. And then COVID happened. And I was like, I can't even get up to Canada. Like, this is crazy.
Right.
What am I going to do? And it's not like I was really desperately searching for a way to get a stamp in my passport, but a friend of mine had moved from Boston to Costa Rica a year prior, and it was her birthday in December, and she was like, I'm not able to get home. Her parents are high risk. She's like quarantine and their visa issues, like they would not have been able to actually see her family for Christmas. So she was like, any chance at all that you can come down here even for like a week or something?
Yep.
It's like, yeah, I can make this happen if you make it happen on your end. And I like looked up all the restrictions and everything. Like, it was totally legal to fly there back. I did all the extra insurance and everything. And I was like, hang on a second. I can actually travel somewhere this year that's totally safe and this is fine. And like the town that they're in, I think has had like 6 COVID cases total, period. End of sentence. And I was
Wow.
like, okay, yeah, no, I feel fine. Like traveling there, that's okay. Cool. So I got to go. Like, I got a stamp in my passport. I got to go spend time with a good friend of mine who I was like, I don't know when I'm going to get to see you again. And bonus, I got to leave America. for a brief period of time. I had never been to Costa Rica before. So that to me
That's
was
so
like,
cool.
it was super fun. It was like such a nice little cherry on top of an otherwise like bizarre year of like, yeah, I wish that we could have like normal life, and I miss Boston, and I miss like the quaintness of our neighborhood, but it's not the same. Like nothing was the same. Nothing is the same right now still. So anyway, that was my travel for the
So
last
good.
12 months.
It's like, I feel like watching your life from afar this last year it's like two different stereotypes.
Yes.
So one is I keep getting these Instagram ads about all these places I can move to and work fully remotely.
Oh.
And they're like picturesque, and like you could go like live on a lake in New Hampshire, I don't know, or like go
Yes.
live on the mountains in Vermont. And I'm like, okay, life is more complicated than that. Like I'm only partially remote, and my husband's not, and like I have a stepkid, so like I wish I could just go up and move. And I think Instagram knows that, or they're
Yes.
but then the other thing is, it sounds very, as someone who has only lived on the West Coast, it sounds very East Coast to me, to like summer in New Hampshire. And so I've heard this as a thing, and it also sounds very old timey, although
Yes.
okay, is it a thing? Like, do you know other people that do this? Was this like super odd, or was this kind of normal to like skip town for the summer?
Big time. So in Boston, I-90 runs like right through the middle of Boston. And if you live north of I-90, you have a summer home in New Hampshire or Vermont or Maine, but usually just New Hampshire and Vermont. If you live south of I-90, you have a summer home on Cape Cod. And it just is a thing. Like,
Wow.
as if these people just like are made of money. And I don't know, to me, it totally blew my mind, but I was like, okay. And now I'm like, okay, yeah, so there's like North Shore and South Shore people. And it literally, I kid you not, it is I-90 that is the dividing line. Like you either are a North Shore person or you're a South Shore person.
Whoa.
And there's like, but you definitely have multiple homes, or you know somebody who has a home and you will not go to. I'm like, we went to Cape Cod a few times, but it's just like kind of annoying to get through the city because of traffic and whatever. And it's like, but we also know
Boston is
people.
not that big.
I know it's really not, but it takes 2 hours to get through it on a Friday afternoon, wherever
So
you're
like,
going.
might as well head the opposite.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm not spending that
direction.
extra 2 hours when it takes, if there's no traffic, it should take under 2 hours to get from Boston to Cape Cod. So if you're going to add 2 hours to that, no, thank you. But if you're on the north side of I-90, then you can skip town. You can avoid most of that traffic. And then you're 2 hours from a lake in New Hampshire or Vermont. So that is the thinking behind it. Yes, it's very East Coast, but it's 100% true. Okay, maybe like
And
98%.
still,
But yeah.
but like pre-remote working, how were people like summering in another state? Were they just like not working? Was it like the wife and kids went and the husband stayed in town?
No, there's like
What is
summer
this?
Fridays. Like nobody works in Boston on Fridays.
Summer Friday?
Wait,
What?
whoa.
I know. This
What?
is big time East Coast thing. I know. I know.
What?
I had a friend who moved to New York and she was like, oh yeah, it's a summer Friday. And I was like, what is that? But like, you either do not work in the office at all on a Friday, or you only work until 1 on a Friday, because they just assume that you're going elsewhere for the weekend. Right?
Oh.
So most people in Boston
I need to live on
don't
the
work
East Coast.
Yes, big time. Totally.
Wait, is that across the East Coast or just Boston?
It's at least like New England and New York. Big time though. Like you don't go into the office on Friday in Boston. So you'll work in the office on Thursday, and if you get out at a decent hour, then you'll drive up to your lake house or down to the Cape. And then you'll be there for the long weekend. You'll still work remotely on Friday, but then you're there for Saturday, Sunday, and then you sit through traffic forever Sunday afternoon. But that is very much what people do. But they don't go that far. It's like all within a 2-hour drive.
It just sounds far to us because we have these larger states on the West
Yeah.
Coast. So, like, the idea of going to another state.
True.
For
it's
a
30
weekend.
minutes to get to New Hampshire from Boston.
Wow.
So
Okay.
it's really not that far.
Yeah, I'm looking at the map right now because I am not great at geography.
These states are teeny tiny.
And
Rhode Island's
yeah,
the size of your pinky fingernail.
and this is going to be me showing my hand of being really ignorant when it comes to even just U.S. state geography. I didn't realize that New Hampshire and Vermont were basically like, I don't know how to describe this. They're basically the same. Someone just cut them down the middle, but they should just be one like square West Coast state, but someone like diagonally cut them across each other.
But when you're choosing state lines before cars are invented, it makes sense that they're smaller. Although, never mind.
I mean, I'm assuming there's a river that line follows.
Ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, for part of it.
Yep, there is. Yep, that makes sense.
It's frozen.
Wow. Okay, so you guys find out about COVID. It's really bad in Boston.
Yeah.
And by March, you're already at a lake house.
Yeah, so it was like really bad in Boston the first week of March. And then we have some really good friends whose parents have a lake house, 2 lake houses right next to each other in New Hampshire. And they were planning on selling one of them last year. Sorry for them, that didn't happen. But our friends were like, yeah, we're probably just gonna like go up there, ride this out for the rest of the month. And we were like, we can come up, hang out, help out with childcare, whatever it is, because again, COVID was only going to last 2 or 3 weeks at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Like, yeah,
totally.
We can commit to this. Like, great that there's an extra house. Like, we'll just hang out in that extra house. That's fine. We're not going to put anybody out. 5 months later, we were still there. So, yeah. I mean, like, they invited us up, but these were, like, childhood friends of Jimmy's. Like, he had gone up there. He summered up there, like, but actually hung out there all summer long.
Wow.
On the lake and everything when he was in high school and college. And so for him to go up there, it was like, this is his second home. Not his parents, not ours or anything. But again, these are like New England families. Like, if you grow up with them, your family by extension, which was pretty nice. I mean, honestly, I'm super grateful that we had a place to go immediately. And it wasn't like, oh my gosh, how do we get out of the city? But like, no, of course. We have like this place or that place or whatever. All the people were inviting us, even with the Rona.
Wow. Oh, man. I'm living on the wrong coast, apparently.
Yes.
Okay,
come
so
over here. Step into my web.
Tell us about New Hampshire. I've never been there. What's the deal? Should people go there? If they go there, what should they do? Oh my gosh. Should they go to that lake?
Yeah. Okay, so there's like quite a few lakes in New Hampshire that are kind of a big deal. But they're like, I'm like trying to think of places on the West Coast that are similar, but it's not. There's nothing that's really similar, because I think about like Lake Washington and Lake Sammamish, and those places are so close to Seattle that like people, it's not a destination for them. Like, they already live there and it's fine.
What about like Lake Chelan?
Kind of. It has
what
like.
What about like the San Juan Islands, which is the opposite of a lake, an island, but like,
yeah,
it is a destination on the water.
That's true. I feel like these lakes in New Hampshire are a lot more like Lake Chelan vibe.
Okay.
That is like, it's a destination. We'll go there for the weekend or for a week or something. And it's like, I don't know, all the boats and, you know, ski-doos and whatever, all the lake activity things. But it's a little bit less rural than I feel like Lake Chelan is.
Okay.
But also, to be fair, I've never been to the San Juan Islands, so I don't know. Maybe it's like them.
So
it's been years for me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a destination, and everybody has a summer home there.
Naturally.
If you're north of I-90,
Thank
you
you.
have a summer
Yes.
home there. Yep. No, I got it. I'm tracking with you here.
Yes, you are.
But like, do people live there year round too? Or is it almost
Yeah.
exclusively vacation homes?
No. There are a few people. So the lake that we were on is actually a smaller lake. It's a little bit less known, less populated with Bostonites. The bigger lakes are mostly big houses that are second homes for people. So like those lakes are pretty dead outside of the summer. The lake that we were on, I don't know, it was maybe like 30% locals who do live there year round. And then the rest of them are clearly people from Boston who have way too much money and are like, yeah, why not just build a second mansion somewhere else on a lake? Because like in the city, we live in this house the size of my hand. I don't know. Then why not just build a mega mansion?
Oh,
So,
the houses are also very, very large.
yes. They spare no expense with these things because they're just like, I can't put this in the city, so I gotta put it somewhere. And everybody must have a mansion in this life, I guess. Oh, America.
Wow.
Yeah, yes, exactly. This is how I feel too, Ryan. I felt the same way the first time that I came. It's like, why are there so many large houses here in this one random spot? But then you learn they're second homes.
But people don't live.
They don't live there. It's so much more affordable to build these gigantic houses outside of Boston. The logic is like beyond me.
Here's the deal, though. That might change with remote working.
That's what I'm wondering.
We're seeing that in Washington, too, is like people are moving away from Seattle because Seattle is also freaking expensive. And so, like, I know 3 people this last year who moved to Texas because they were like, hey, it's cheap and I can keep my job up here. And so, but even more locally, like,
I have family
Whidbey Island
that moved to
people are moving
Spokane.
there.
Yeah.
So I wonder, will some people be like, hey, New Hampshire, actually pretty sweet. I'm going to live there year round and not have to live in the expensive city. Unless you have buckets of money, and then maybe that's not an issue so much. But or you could have 2 mansions in New Hampshire, you know.
I mean, there is that option. Yes, because why not? So since we've been in Vermont, I have heard exactly that. But it's a lot of people from like New York and Connecticut that have bought properties at mountains in Vermont that like they probably had been like coming up here for winters or whatever, but they're like, shoot, it's super cheap and COVID, and so like why not? And so I'm getting a lot of flack from people in Vermont about outsiders coming in, but somehow for whatever reason they're like not upset about Massachusetts people. And I don't know if they're doing that because they can see my Massachusetts license plate on my car when I drive up, and they're just like kind of being nice. But for the most part, what I have heard is like it is out of staters buying all of this property specifically in Vermont, and they're just like, we do not want you. We are a naturally socially distancing state, and you are ruining our numbers. But that is exactly what's happening. Like everything that you guys just said is totally the same case here, except there's no Spokane of Massachusetts. It is, they just go up north. I don't blame them.
So when you were in New Hampshire, you stayed with some family friends.
Yeah.
What's your hookup in Vermont?
So Jimmy found this like incredible deal at a ski resort that we like to go to, but it's like, so normally when we ski, it's a 2-hour drive from Boston, but this place is 3.5 hours, and it's like, oh, it's like kind of pushing it for a weekend getaway. It's a little further than we would like to do, but we do it for like a long weekend, one long weekend a year. And he found this deal for a seasonal rental that like came with season passes. It's like all the utilities are included and blah, 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 all this stuff. And I was like, okay, that like makes sense if we're still remote, but I don't know if we're still going to be remote. Of course, he should have just talked to your friend, Cheryl, who knew all the things.
Yeah.
I should have talked to her. Then I would have had peace of mind. But this was
she's
like back
still
in
saying
August.
like, oh, this is never going to go back to how we knew it before. And
Right.
I'm like, no, it's going back. I am going to concerts
Oh,
again.
yes.
And
Oh my gosh. I hope so. I hope so. But Jimmy found this in August, and I was like, you're going to be traveling again. Like he flies on planes for his job Monday to Thursday. And I was like, that's going to be a pretty sucky commute. 3.5 hours driving down to Boston to then fly on a plane. I don't think so. That's not going to fly.
Ha ha.
Sort of pun intended there. Not really. But like, I was like, I'm going to just hang out up here because I can work remotely, and I'm just going to tell my boss that I'm working remotely from Vermont. Like, I'm not going into the office, and I think that she'll be okay with that. Probably, hopefully. But then I quit my job, so then there was that too. But this
Whoa. You now don't have a job either?
details. I like have my own business. It's fine.
Okay.
I have a different thing on the side that I made my full-time thing. But like when we were planning all of this stuff, it was like, okay, so Jimmy, like, how long are you going to be able to work remotely? Does this really make sense? All this stuff. And we asked one of my best friends who has a dog she lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. Was asking her if she wants to like come up here, and we're like, how long are you going to work remotely? And it everything just like fell into place. So this place that we found, like, the rental didn't start until Thanksgiving. We didn't have to give like our final confirmation until the day before. So like we could have gotten our money back until the day before. And I was like, this is kind of crazy. And also they have this special stipulation this year that's like, if some sort of outbreak happens and you are forced to leave the state because of COVID, like, you're not going to be charged for the rest of the season.
Wow.
So it was like,
Ooh,
this
that's
is
a good
literally the best possible scenario that we could have to be able to live up here. Like, it's a monthly rate. We're not having to pay everything up front. And it's as safe as possible being outside of the city. And if anything happens, like, we're off the hook, you know? So we have been super grateful for this. Selfishly, I'm really glad that we're doing this thing on our own and there are no children that I'm having to babysit this time around. And also, like, our dog and my friend's dog are like, that's like instant dog sitting right there. Like, we take them for a walk in the morning and then they just play all day. I was like, why would we not do this? Like, it makes no sense not to. And also, I get to ski when I want to. So there, you know, little things. Yeah. You guys, to me, this is the most insane thing. Like, how is everybody not living here with us? But Jimmy like stumbled upon it one day. And then by the time he called, there were 2 units left, I think 2 or 3 units left available for the seasonal rental, and he like got one of the last ones. I was like, thank goodness.
Wow.
So then do these rentals have like a kitchen or a kitchenette or something like that as well?
They're like full-fledged condos, like full 2 bed, 2 bath, full kitchen. I mean, okay, to be fair, the stove and oven are like 3/4 size, but they work.
That's fine.
Yeah, like, they get the job done. It's full fridge, you know. There's like all the utilities are covered, which to me is crazy. Like,
wow,
we turn on our fireplace every single day, all day long. Like, somebody else is paying for that gas bill, but like, we got to keep it warm in here. I don't know. I mean, it's pretty amazing. I'm super grateful.
That's so
and I
cool.
love this mountain. Like, 50% of their clientele normally come from Canada. So obviously,
wow,
not very many people here this year. So every time that I go skiing, I ski right up to the chair. Like, I have waited in line one day this entire time that we've been up here. And it was because it was a holiday weekend and there was a big storm. We got like a foot of snow overnight. And so, like, of course, everybody and their mom was here. And I was pretty upset because I think I had to wait in line for like 8 minutes.
Ooh, that's rough.
Tell me about it, right? It's unreal. Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm pretty grateful
so
every
cool.
single day. I'm just like, how is this my life? Thank you, thank you, thank you. All the time.
Love
Well,
it.
now I'm curious. Having lived this way for
Ooh.
however many months, you said Thanksgiving, so that was November, and it's now February, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
basically December, January, so about 3 months so far.
Mm-hmm.
And you're loving it. Obviously, your husband's job, if and when things go back to some form of normal, will be traveling again. And so that could be prohibitive. But if that wasn't a factor, would you consider something more permanent?
So this is an excellent question because Jimmy and I talk about this all the time. Like both of us are loving this season right now, but we also love our city condo. We love the neighborhood that we live in. I love that I can walk anywhere and everywhere. But that life is not the same right now. And I
Right.
think that's what's like, okay, so if Jimmy does go back to traveling someday, then therefore life in this city is probably a little bit more normal. I would miss that city life. But for this season right now, knowing that Charlestown, Boston is not what it is, I much prefer living up here. But you guys, it's 30 minutes to a grocery store. Cheryl, you can relate.
Yep. I used to live that life. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you did.
It's awesome and very difficult. Like I can do this for a season, but I don't think that I could do this long term. Like I need people
Mm.
and I need a grocery store that I can walk to. And that would take me a day. So no. Yeah. Like it's a really fun adventure, but I think just for a temporary for right
Yeah.
now. Mm-hmm.
Oh man, that's so cool. I love it. I want to hear. Okay. So sometimes on this podcast, we like to plan trips for people. This isn't necessarily for me. This is
I don't
for,
think
like,
Mikaela knows that because we've never helped her plan a trip.
No. Never.
Well, she has not planned a trip, but we planned her trip for her. So, first of all, you're welcome.
True. Thank
you. So, I want to hear you plan. Like, okay, someone has. Okay, we're going to say somewhere between a week and a half. Okay.
Yes.
And they are going to get themselves to the East Coast, however they can.
Walking
Naturally.
Yep, they're going to walk to the East Coast. Yeah.
from Seattle.
And, okay,
Yes.
so I want to hear, like, where should they be visiting? If they rent a car, what are some little, like, things they should do? Maybe that, you know, you've been exploring the New England area more. You know, how much time should they spend, like, in the city versus, like, out in the various countryside areas where they can explore mountains and lakes and things?
Yeah.
And can we get, like, a summer version or, like, a warm weather version and a cold weather version? How about that?
Yes. Yeah, big time. But also, I'm going to just go ahead and start with fall because that's 100% when people should come.
That's when I visited you in Boston.
Yes.
It was in the fall.
Yes. And
it was great. I would
Thank
recommend
you.
Boston in the fall for sure.
Yes.
There's a reason that the pirates who don't do anything
That's
think about it.
exactly what was going on in my head.
Nice. Exactly. But holy cow. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Fall. Okay. So no matter what, fly into Boston, rent a car. Period. Let me think. If you're here in the summer, oh my gosh, you could go both ways. Okay, a week and a half, right? That's what I'm giving.
Okay. Summer, week and a half, and they're renting a car.
Okay.
What are they doing?
Summer, week and a half. Fly in midweek and go right down to the Cape Cod, for like 3 days. You go down there Wednesday to Saturday. And then you will not have to deal with any annoying crowds. You'll be able to have the beach all to yourself. You can stay in whatever hotel you want. Ooh, oh my gosh. Okay, go for 4 days. And then just like take a day trip down to Nantucket or Martha's Vineyard. It is worth paying for the ferry. Do not take your car. You can walk everywhere on those islands. But take the ferry down to Nantucket or Martha's Vineyard, hang out in those. Oh my gosh, those towns are just so freaking adorable. Especially if you go midweek, then you're not going to have to deal with like lines or crowds or whatever. And if you go on the weekend, those ferries book up super, super fast. So definitely recommend going like Monday to Thursday on any of those ferries. And then when you come back from your little Cape Cod adventure, go up north. And I would recommend spending time in Maine just because that coast is gorgeous. You can go to Portland, Rockport. You can drive all the way up to Bar Harbor, which is just so beautiful. If you're into the camping scene, go camping in Bar Harbor. Hang out there for a few
Really?
days. Oh, yeah. Yes. Oh, my gosh. It's stunning.
Wait,
It's
I might
so
actually
beautiful.
take this trip now. I'm pretty excited
should.
about it.
Yep.
You should. Just re-listen to this and write down all the notes.
I know.
Yeah. Then, okay, so there's so many restaurants to hit up in Portland, but that, like, I would definitely at least spend like one night in Portland because it's such a cute little, like, walking coastal town. Definitely not the same size as Portland, Oregon. Like, microscopic in comparison, but it's like an adorable Spokane, like a kind of industrial city, but you can just walk right down to the water. There's a bunch of breweries right on the water. There are a bunch of like super great, if you're really into lobster, that's the place to get your lobster or any sort of seafood right there in Portland. So like hit that up on your way up to Bar Harbor or back down. And yeah, there's some like cool spots in New Hampshire, but for sure for summer, I would say Cape Cod and Maine are your places to go. And then fall, you'll still fly into Boston, but this time you'll drive up to New Hampshire and you will stop in Lincoln, which is where the White Mountain National Park is. And you can drive right through those. There's like a cute little town of Lincoln, but like you'll just drive through the mountain road right there and all of the trees will be like insane right in your face. All these colors. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. And you can camp there too if you really want to, or there's hotels or whatever. But then you'll go back and you'll keep driving up north and you'll hit up St. Johnsbury in Vermont and just then like cut over and then make your way back down. And this will be your brewery leaf peeping tour. Vermont.
Okay.
Yes, Vermont has so many super great craft breweries. I don't drink beer, but Jimmy is like very obsessed with all of the Vermont breweries, especially because we're here and they're accessible. But most of these breweries do not distribute outside of the state, or if they do, it's very limited to New England or like a 4-pack. We'll go to like some random liquor store, who knows where. So you can really only access these places if you come to Vermont. So I think that it's a really, really unique experience, even though I don't drink beer and I don't even like it. There's other people that do who maybe listen to this podcast. So
Like me.
highly recommend. There we go. Yes, like you,
Yep.
Cheryl. Thank
Okay.
you for listening. So you go up through New Hampshire and then wind your way down through Vermont and hit up all these breweries in Burlington, and like there's a bunch in the Green Mountains. But on your way down, you will see the gorgeous, gorgeous trees, leaf peeping, all the things.
Nice.
Winter. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you to like
Okay.
fly into Burlington, Vermont, because don't waste your time in Boston in the winter. I mean, it's fine. It's fine. But like, not. It's okay. It's just really cool. And there's no skiing right there in Boston. So you might as well just fly into Burlington, Vermont. And there's a bunch of mountains in Vermont. The thing is, brace yourself for East Coast skiing, because it's not gorgeous powder like it is out west. It is ice, straight ice.
Oh, wow.
And these people here are so proud of the skiing here, to the point that like, you know who the ski families are in New England because they all have bumper stickers that say "Ski the East." They're so hardcore. Like, you have to buy like special skis and everything to ski out here. I had no idea how intense it was, but I have learned over the years there are just some different ways that you ski around here. But I would recommend for winter months just sticking to Vermont. Like there's some good mountains in New Hampshire and Maine, actually. But if you're gonna come here for skiing, just fly right into Burlington and then scope out the different mountains that you want to go to. Because they're all like within an hour-ish of each other. Hour and a half maybe.
Wow.
And you
That's
can
awesome.
like, yeah, like you can check out all these different mountains that you want to go to. Some of them are very fancy Vail owned resorts, and a lot of them are very old school, which I love. That's like the authentic old American ski experience, which I really, really appreciate. You can get like anything and everything here. It's pretty fun.
I love it. And I just did a little Google Maps from Cape Cod to Boston to Portland to Bar Harbor.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 6-hour drive.
That's not that bad, actually.
That's not bad at all. It's several states happening
Oh, yeah.
along the way.
Yeah,
That's
you pass
awesome.
through New Hampshire. Yeah, I know, right? That's like
Man.
a day on the West Coast. But here we're like, oh, that's like 3 days. Do not drive more than 2 hours a day. That's too much. Yes. They would definitely, here they would be like, oh, yeah, no. Go from Cape Cod, stay in Boston for the night, and then like pass through Portland and then make the long drive to Bar Harbor.
See, now that's interesting because I've encountered that same perspective in Europe.
Yes. Yeah, totally.
And so I wonder if it's just a difference in like city density and like state density, because here on the West Coast, we just have larger states, and not that I just don't think that our cities in general are as dense as they are on the East Coast. I mean, obviously there are some big cities. I mean, LA is huge and ridiculous. And, so it's not that there aren't big cities, but I don't think there are in the same way. And those big cities aren't as close to each other as they are on the East Coast, especially in New England.
Yes.
And so that's just really interesting to hear that same, oh yeah, I wouldn't drive there. And I've heard that from locals that I know of who live in parts of Europe. It's the same thing where, well, I mean, no, that'd be a really long trip.
Yes.
And I was like, yeah, but it's right there. Like I can get there today.
Yes.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's only
just
12
interesting.
hours. It's fine.
Yeah. When I moved to Eastern Washington, to Yakima, I was talking to this man at this church I was visiting, and he, we were talking about like perception of how long, like, is too long of a drive. And he said, he was like, I think that wherever you live, there's a different number you can fill in the blank with the statement, if it takes me more than blank minutes, I will reconsider going to that thing. And so I was like, I think in Seattle, I think it's an hour for most people. Like, if you're going to go to like some party or like a concert or I don't know, some event, something going on, you'd be like, if it takes me more than an hour, I'm going to reconsider if I really want to go. And he said, he was like, in Yakima, I think it's 20 minutes. And I was like, what?
Whoa.
He's like, I think it is. I think if it's more than 20 minutes, I'd reconsider if I was really going to go. And I've asked other people in Yakima, and they agreed with that statement. And so, but I think it's similar too with like a day trip, and this also probably depends on the individual as far as things. But like, if it takes me more than blank hours to drive somewhere, I'd reconsider like driving there as a day trip or driving there for the weekend. Yeah. And I feel like it probably depends on where you're from and what you're used to for what kind of length of time feels reasonable.
Well, that's what is so fascinating to me. Like Jimmy also lived on the West Coast. Like he lived in Tacoma, and he would drive an hour to Seattle to like hang out for the night. And now we're just like, we drive an hour and that gets us to another state. So obviously we're going to stay overnight. Like, we would not just go to dinner. Like that's absurd. I'm like, wait a second. How is that really different?
Yeah.
It's so funny.
That is really interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Well, thank you for planning trips for
You're
Me.
welcome. Yes, come and visit.
Oh, you know I will. Said yes to that 2 times.
True. Yes, you have. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. You keep going to cool places and I'll keep visiting you. So
Okay.
it'll be great.
I'm not upset about it.
Well, Mikaela, thank you for sharing about your work from home experiences with us.
Oh, yeah.
We have a couple questions to ask you. So you've kind of answered this by planning a trip, but if we're going to be real direct about it, based on the title of our show, Take Me With You. If you could take us with you to just one place, not Costa Rica, I'm thinking one of the work from home places or specifics within that that you shared about, what would it be and why?
Ooh. I would bring you right here where I am right now, because
Really?
this is so unbelievably magical to me. I love winter, and so being here in this magical, like, there's a forest right behind my backyard, and on the other side of the little forest is an open golf course that is just covered in snow. There are no other people around here, so Ryan, I think that you'd be also pretty happy. You guys
Yep.
would both be very equally happy here. Cheryl, you just come here for the pets, and Ryan, you come here for the solitude. But it is so extremely peaceful. Like, every single morning, Laura and I take the dogs for a walk up the hill and, like, see our neighbors from a distance, say hi. There's other dogs and everything, but, like, getting to watch the sun rise through the trees and, like, shine right onto our mountain that we ski on. It's bright pink. It's unbelievable. Like, there's no way to really describe it other than every morning there are tears in my eyes, because I'm like, this is sheer beauty and I get to live here right now. Like, are you kidding me? What a gift. So yeah, I would bring every single person that's listening to this episode here right now with me to go on that bitter cold walk with me every single morning. Bundle up, guys. Bring your hats, coats, whatever thing, muttons, everything. Like, yeah, bundle up. But holy cow, the beauty that is here is absolutely worth the bitter cold and the journey and everything that it takes to get here. It's amazing.
I love it. Okay, I accept. And Mikaela, what's your next trip?
Okay.
Do you have one?
So I do. I'm going back to Costa Rica in May, but also, like, my long-term, hopefully next trip is actually going to Italy, like we were supposed to do last year.
Oh, yeah.
But I told Jimmy, for every year that we can't go, I'm tacking on a week. So
that seems
3
fair.
weeks now.
Yeah.
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 Soon
there you
enough,
go.
it'll be a month.
Yeah, charging him interest. That's good. Yeah.
I think it's fair. Yes.
And do you have any travel questions for us?
Ooh. Oh my gosh, always. But I should have come prepared. What are my
That's
travel
fine.
questions for you guys? What is your favorite hidden gem in the Pacific Northwest?
How hidden does it have to be? Is it like people who aren't from Seattle aren't necessarily going to think about visiting it if they
I would say
come here?
Yeah.
I love Whidbey Island so much. I mean, my parents had a house there for like 15 years, and so I think I got to go a lot and stay somewhere for free. So that was like a big reason why I went so much. But it is a 2-hour drive from Seattle, which we have established in Washington is not far. And actually maybe even a little less depending on where. It's a really long island. It's the longest island in North America.
Whoa.
But
I didn't know that.
so it depends on where on the island you're going. But it has so much, and like it feels very small towny, and like you're in the middle of nowhere, and there's parts of the island that are so skinny that you can see the water like on both sides at the same time, essentially. Whoa. And there's like old barracks from the war, so that's really interesting. And there's still a drive-in theater, which there's hardly any of, and there's gorgeous gardens and a ton of beaches and hiking, and it's so beautiful there. Amazing sunsets, because that's the benefit of clouds that we have in the Seattle area, is then you get really good sunsets when you get those cloudy days.
Very true.
And you get to go on a ferry, which like here feels so normal, but is really unique for a lot of people, I think. Like not everybody goes on ferries.
Yeah.
Driving your car in a boat is a unique experience if you think about it.
Yes. Yeah,
So
good point.
yeah, I think Whidbey Island is just a really amazing place, and it feels like you're so far away from Seattle, even though it's really not that far. So
True.
Yep.
That's awesome. Ryan.
Well, it's not Whidbey Island, but it's very in the same vein, I think, as Whidbey Island. And I mean, I think just the Olympic Peninsula, specifically like the north coast of the Olympic Peninsula. I mean, there's a bunch of places up there, but between Port Townsend, Sequim, Port Angeles, Lake Crescent, that whole area is just beautiful. It's just gorgeous. And it does have that much smaller town feel, and it's on the water, and especially parts of it, just because of the way the weather works, it's in the rain shadow. So like Sequim is usually clear. They actually don't have a lot of clouds and rain there, believe it or not. And it's just, it has that, slower pace of life feel to it. And kind of like Whidbey Island, it is farther than Whidbey Island, but it's not that far away. Like you can do an easy day trip over to the peninsula and stay someplace overnight and then, come back or whatever. And I mean, if you really have the time, go all the way around, go see the Hoh Rainforest, do all that, which is really cool. But I think that's the one I think for me would be, the Olympic Peninsula, because there aren't a lot of major tourist sites that are there, really. So there's not a lot, I think, that encourages people to go there, but it's a beautiful, beautiful part of the state.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep.
Cool.
I agree with that. Well, what's fun is also there is a ferry that goes from Whidbey Island to Port Townsend on the Olympic Peninsula.
Yep.
And actually what's a fun thing to do too is walk on that ferry, because it drops you off like in town in Port Townsend, and then you can just like hang out in town for a day and walk back on the ferry. So yeah.
Shoot. You guys just made my next Northwest road trip.
There you go.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and transition to the last segment of our podcast called Wish You Were Here. During this section, each of the three of us is going to highlight something from our travels that we think is kind of cool. Think of it sort of like a snapshot or a postcard that you would send home to say, hey, this thing was really cool. I wish you were here. Cheryl, what would you like to do for your Wish You Were Here?
Okay, well, we were talking about hidden gems in the Pacific Northwest, and this is a weird one that I'm sure you both have been to, so we can all kind of talk about it together. But the Fremont Troll.
Oh, yes.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
It's so weird. I always
weird.
take people to see it when they're visiting Seattle, because I'm going to take them to Fremont anyway, because we're probably going to go to Schilling Cider, and we're going to go, like watch the boats at the water, drive over the bridges. It's just like Fremont is a very fun neighborhood to visit. And then you go see this weird big old troll statue under a bridge. Yeah. And it's a unique thing to go see. And it was modeled after a professor at UW that my sister actually had, and so I always forget his name every single time I bring up that fun fact, and then I have to text her and ask her what his name was again and again.
I did not know that.
I didn't either.
It's like large enough you can like climb it, so it's fun to take pictures with. And I think he's holding like a Volkswagen Bug.
Yeah, like he's got a hand that's like a round one. Yeah, it's a stone sculpture that is very oversized.
Yeah,
and it is underneath. Big. It is underneath. Is it the Aurora Bridge?
That's
one of the bridges,
but I don't know.
I think it's underneath the Aurora Bridge.
I think you're right.
And it's just like, and this bridge is really, really high. So you have to like kind of go up the hill to where the bridge meets the
Yeah.
side of the hill.
Yeah.
And right underneath that is this random stone sculpture thing.
It is so random. Like
It
when
is.
I
It's
stop
so
to think about
random.
it, like what?
Yeah. It's very weird.
Oh,
And then
but
go
I
get
love
some
it.
Theo chocolate. I mean, there's like a whole
Yes.
half a day
Yes.
you can do
Yeah.
in
That
Fremont,
one
which is
definitely.
great.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The thing that's
But-
interesting to me about there's many interesting things. One is I didn't find out about it until I think I was in college.
Mm.
Like,
Oh.
because it was created in 1990. So, I mean, I was still not, I definitely wasn't in college in 1990, but it wasn't a thing that we ever went to or that I ever even knew about. And so it was this like new thing that showed up later. I don't know. It's weird.
Oh.
I know. I feel like I didn't learn about it till college age either.
I like heard about it, but I had never seen it until I think that I was like in my 20s, and I came back to Seattle and had some visiting friends, and they were like, let's see the Fremont Troll. And I was like, yeah, totally. Let's.
Yeah.
Like, grew up here. I don't know.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
had
I
no
didn't see
idea.
it until adulthood. They made it into a chia pet at one point, which is very
What?
funny to me.
And
gosh.
apparently, recently, it has also had a mask. It is wearing a mask.
Oh my gosh. So trendy.
Oh, funny. I love it. Go see the Fremont Troll.
Yeah.
It's definitely something to remember.
Yep.
Yeah. Totally.
Mikaela, what would you like to do for your wish you were here?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So my wish you were here is paying homage to the last episode that I was on when you guys planned my trip to Belgium. Because you guys suggested that we go to Bruges, and holy cow. I highly recommend that everybody that is in the Belgium vicinity go to Bruges. It is so quaint and adorable, and there's this like little river that runs through town. We did a little like a boat cruise tour thing, and it was totally worth it. I mean, I don't know, it was maybe like €10 or something per person. It wasn't that long, but just getting to see the city from a different perspective, I feel like is so much fun. And they took us by, there's like I'm going to call it the wrong thing. It's not a monastery, wherever the monks are that they live. Not,
It's a monastery.
I feel like,
Monastery.
that's
Yeah.
where the monks are? Okay, so the nuns are in something else. Okay,
Convent.
it's a monastery. Thank you. You guys are so wise and
Or a nunnery
insightful.
if you're Shakespeare.
There we go. Get thee to a nunnery.
Yep.
Indeed. So we like cruised by a monastery while we were on the boat and found out, well, I found out, Jimmy of course knew this well beforehand, that those monks in that monastery brew their own beer. And so this
Oh yeah.
town, this village is, yeah, they're like super well known for the beer that these monks brew. And I was like, pfft, mind blown. But it was also like a really cool monastery to see from the water. Like, just, yeah, let's cruise right on by a monastery. Like, who does that? We do that, evidently. People can do that. So we got out of the boat and, like, walked over to the other side of the monastery, and there's this, like, open food court kind of area that is just an open area to hang out and sample the beer that these monks have made. And then they make you, like, sausage and mustard and all the delicious things. Like, I ate the delicious food, and Jimmy drank the beer that evidently was delicious, but I wouldn't know. But it was such a fun, like, I don't know, it was such a unique experience to get to see from the water level and then also just be in the city. So we were only supposed to be there for one day, and we fell in love with the town so much that we were like, let's change our plans and stay here for the night. And it was totally worth
Whoa.
it. Yeah.
That's a good
Cool.
review.
Yeah, definitely highly recommend going to Bruges and staying at least for one
Wow.
night. Yeah.
I
Would've
need to
stayed for
listen to that
longer.
episode again where we suggested neither of us have been to Belgium, so we went
No.
off of research.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Excellent
apparently we
research.
gotta go there too.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
if I'm
we-
remembering correctly, and I might not be, I think that may be a Rick Steves recommendation. I think that might be
Oh.
where we got it from.
Rick, he
Hmm.
knows.
He does.
He knows. Yeah.
He
But you
definitely
guys
does.
did a great job passing that along, because we were like, I don't know. I don't even know where to start. And there was one other town that you guys had recommended that was like some medieval town, and we didn't have
Yeah.
time to go there because we spent the extra day in Bruges.
Uh-huh.
But I want to go back to Belgium and check that place out. But for now,
Wow.
definitely wish you were here in Bruges.
All right.
Highly.
Nice.
Mhm. Yes. Okay, Ryan, your turn.
Well, mine's definitely not that cool.
They're all cool.
But mine is, it's called The Candy Store in Leura, Australia.
Ooh.
Ooh.
So
Sounds
one of the
delicious.
things that you can do as a day trip, or you can do it longer than a day trip from Australia, is you can go to the Blue Mountains. And I've talked about with some of my Wish You Hears before, some of the things that are at the Blue Mountains, which are gorgeous. But along the route is this tiny little town called Leura. And they have a shop that's just called The Candy Store. And it's tiny. It's not very big, but it's like an old school candy shop. And it is floor to ceiling candy for days. And it's got like old
fun.
classic candy and stuff that's hard to find, and stuff from the US and stuff from Australia and stuff from the UK and stuff from I feel France. And it's got it's got all these different things, and there's just candy and candy and candy and candy and candy and candy. Now, I'm not necessarily, I don't love candy. I don't hate candy, but I wouldn't say that, candy is my most favorite thing in the world. But the shop was super cool. It just has that old school, it's kind of a little cramped, and, because like the shelves are kind of, cattywampus a little bit, and it is like literally floor to ceiling. And it's just a fun little place to stop. And Leura is, again, a pretty small town. It just kind of has the one sort of strip that you can kind of walk down and visit shops and things. I think I bought chocolate for my mom in one of the shops there. And then there's this candy shop. So my Wish You Were Here is The Candy Shop in Leura in Australia.
Nice.
Cute. It sounds awesome.
Yeah,
I
it's
wanna
fun.
go.
Yeah. Okay,
I
let's
wanna
go.
too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's all go.
Well,
I
while we're
will.
there, can we also go to New Zealand? Because I haven't been there yet,
yes.
and that's on my
Yeah.
list.
Okay. I mean, as
Totally.
long as we're on the way.
Right? Like it's basic.
right
You're basically there
It's
already.
right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Cool.
Yeah,
I'm there.
you're all game.
Yep, let's do
Definitely.
it.
Yes.
Cool.
I've got my
Perfect.
passport. I'll double
You
check.
sure about that?
I am
Sure
triple
about
sure.
that?
I'll pull it up for you guys right now. Fair question.
Well, Mikaela, thank you so much for being on our podcast.
You guys, this has been so much fun. Seriously.
Aw, we're
I
very
love
happy
hanging
to
out
have
with
you.
you.
Aw, it's so good.
Yeah.
I'm glad we recorded this hangout time.
Me too. Me too.
Tell us anything you want to plug. Do you want to plug your new business? Do you want to anything? What do you want to tell us about?
Sure, yeah, totally. I mean, my Instagram handle is at Mikaela McGee, which you guys are gonna write down, I'm sure. Not the easiest thing to spell. My business is really just all about living an authentic and true life as best we can. And so I'm all about personal development and people living into their authenticity. And part of that authenticity for me is getting to travel and experience other cultures. So I love, love, love getting to be on podcasts like this and share my own experiences and learn from other people along the way. Thank you guys so, so much for having me.
Yeah.
One, because I love hanging out with you, but also just to be able to talk about travel in a season when we don't get to very much. Like,
Yeah,
this is amazing. It's so much fun.
it really is. It does make it hard to not be traveling.
Yeah.
But to
Little
be
bit.
honest, Cheryl and I have said this a number of times. That's always the case. Because if we're recording,
Yes.
we're not in the middle of a trip. So
Yeah.
True.
we're always
Good
hearing
point.
about it, but it's super exciting to hear about things and to hear about things in our own country.
Yes.
Kind of
yeah.
like you
That is a good
mentioned,
point.
things that are around here that, we don't always think about. I think maybe Cheryl, you were the one who mentioned that. So in our own backyard. So that's awesome.
Yeah,
Because I
that's a
know
great
very
point.
little about New England, but I know
Right?
more now than I did before we started.
Yeah, such
There we
as
go.
we know which states touch each other, which is great to know.
There we go. That's a good place to start.
Absolutely. We would love it if you all would follow us on social media. We are at TimWe Podcast. That's TMWI for Take Me With You Podcast. We are on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter.
You can also email us at timwepodcast@gmail.com. Send us suggestions of guests we should have on, topics we should cover, and tell us your horror story of losing your passport and what the ramifications were, because it's like the scariest movie ever.
Maybe not the scariest, but it's freaky. It's definitely
It's up
freaky.
there.
You can also call us and leave us a voicemail of some other, maybe you're not passport paranoid, but maybe you're paranoid about something else for travel. We'd love to hear about that. The number here is 406-763-8699, or if it's easier to remember, 406-POD-TIMWE. We would love it if you would rate and review our podcast to tell other people what you think about it. Subscribe to make sure that you don't miss any episodes, and share about this episode on your social media accounts so that other people can hear about the wonders of New England from Mikaela.
Woohoo.
As always, thank you to Beth Reed Miller for the awesome artwork. You can check out more of Beth's artwork at Beth Is Something. And thank you to Erica Corbin for the use of her song Round the Globe. You can listen to Erica's music wherever music is sold or streamed.
Mikaela, it was a delight to have you on our podcast again.
Oh, likewise, you guys. This is the best.
Yay!
Well, until the next time that you're on, remember to take me with you.
Take me with you!
Woohoo! Take me with you.
Can we get a sailboat chasing down the sunset as we float round and round the globe? Salty air and balmy nights, guided only by the lights above, and a little love. Oh, the world is out there waiting to explore, and all our troubles here wanting to be